I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
That wasn't just a meltdown, it was a manifesto, and years later in court, that same energy exploded. Diddy charged at a witness so violently that security had to rush in and restrain him. But this rage, it didn't just show up in that courtroom. It had been boiling for years, because even after he was arrested, there were secret prison calls, hush money deals run through his own mother. And then came Cass's testimony, and what she revealed took this case from dark to unthinkable. Let me catch you up the Witness T. Let's start with something truly shocking. According to court documents, Diddy has been allegedly contacting witnesses from prison. Yes, you heard it right. The man is behind bars and is still trying to pull strings like a puppet master. The prosecutors describe his efforts as relentless attempt to corruptly influence witness testimony. That's not just crossing a line, that's jumping over it, doing a backflip, and landing in criminal territory. How was he doing this? Well, apparently he was using other inmates' phone accounts to make calls, which is against prison regulations. That's like borrowing someone else's ID to get into a club when you're underage, except you know way more illegal. And with way bigger consequences, he was allegedly directing others to orchestrate payment for access, creating this whole underground network just so he could reach out to potential witnesses who might testify against him. But wait, it gets worse. He wasn't just reaching out to witnesses himself, he was also allegedly instructing his family members to contact potential witnesses, using your mama to do your dirty work. That's low even for someone facing serious charges. His mother, Janice Combs, was actually named in a lawsuit for allegedly pressuring an accuser to accept hush money. Imagine having your mother participate in silencing people who are allegedly hurt by you. That's not motherly love, that's enabling abuse. Diddy also allegedly orchestrated social media posts such as drafting an Instagram statement with witness to via text and calls from prison to counter allegations by Dawn Richard. And get this, prosecutors alleged that he paid this witness after they posted a statement, buying people's loyalty. That's not how the justice system is supposed to work. Diddy even went as far as monitoring the analytics of a birthday video posted by his 7 children, discussing with his family how it would affect potential jury members. That's some next-level manipulation, trying to influence public opinion before the trial even started. These actions were cited in his bail denial, with prosecutors arguing that Diddy's uncanny ability to get others to do his bidding, whether it's employees, family members, or inmates, demonstrated a significant risk of witness tampering. The judge agreed that no conditions could eliminate these risks. In other words, they knew that if they let him out, he'd be on the phone faster than you can say bad boy for life, trying to influence everyone involved in the case. Now let's talk about the conspiracy theories surrounding this case, because they are wild. One of the most talked about involves a man named Jonathan Audi. In 2018, Audi was arrested for shooting at Trump's Juro Miami resort. During his interrogation, he made some explosive claims. He said he was a slave for both Diddy and Cassie. He alleged that Diddy would instruct him on actions with Cassie during their encounters. Audi also claimed that he signed a $5 million NDA with Diddy. In July 2014, his ex-wife Tanya Troutwine corroborated this, linking it to their 2014 divorce and Audi's subsequent cash purchases of properties. Initially, people dismissed Audi's claims as delusions due to his mental state and the violent incident at the resort, but here's where it gets interesting. Cass's testimony during the trial has been interpreted as confirming Audi's involvement in sexual encounters with Diddy. Some people on social media are saying this is proof that another conspiracy theory has turned out to be true. One ex-user at MLC Patriot posted on May 14th, 2025, with Cassie Venter's testimony in the Diddy trials. It looks like another conspiracy theory is true. It's giving where there's smoke, there's fire energy, and in this case, there's enough smoke to fill a stadium. There are also theories that Diddy's behavior was an open secret in the music industry, with other powerful figures possibly enabling or covering it up. This includes speculation about other celebrities and executives suggesting a network of silence that allowed such actions to persist for years. It's not hard to believe, given how many times we've seen powerful people get away with terrible things because they are protected by even more powerful people. Some theories extend to a broader network of abuse within the entertainment industry, with Cassie as just one of the victims. These ideas suggest Diddy's actions are part of a larger systemic issue, though the evidence is often circumstantial and debated. But when You look at the pattern of behavior that's been alleged not just with Cassie, but with multiple women, it's hard not to wonder how deep this rabbit hole goes. Now let's talk about another key detail from the trial, an alleged third victim who's been uncooperative with prosecutors. According to sources, this woman has been described as victim 3 in the indictment, and she's an ex-girlfriend of Diddy. The prosecutors have been having trouble getting her to testify, with rumors that she's been uncooperative from the beginning.
They have described her. They said this is victim 3 in the indictment. She is, we know, an ex-girlfriend. Know that she's an ex-girlfriend. Right. And there was a whole exchange about her in court this week where they said we're having trouble getting her to come in. That she has some conflict. She's got things going on in her personal life. And it was described by the government as almost like she wants to be here, but we're not sure we're going to be able to get her here. We're talking to her lawyer.
Why would someone be reluctant to testify against an alleged abuser? Well, there could be many reasons: fear of retaliation, concern for personal safety, worry about public scrutiny, or maybe, just maybe, they've been contacted by Diddy or someone in his circle pressuring them to stay silent. It wouldn't be the first time a powerful person has used their influence to keep victims quiet. This missing witness could be a major blow to the prosecution's case, as one legal expert pointed out. And
they've added them because they knew they needed to bolster their case beyond Cassie, because he can always say, I was in a long-term relationship with Cassie.
In other words, the prosecutors need multiple victims to establish a pattern of behavior to show that this wasn't just a toxic relationship with Cassie, but a systematic way that Diddy treated women. Without victim 3, their case could be weakened, which might explain why they are so desperate to get her on the stand. There's also been some wild behavior from Diddy during the trial itself. On the first day, he was spotted reading from a Bible at the defense table before opening statements. Now, I'm not saying people can't find religion during tough times, but the timing feels convenient, like when your teacher catches you passing notes in class and suddenly you're the most attentive student ever. It's giving too little too late energy. Social media users were quick to call this out as a transparent strategy to appear sympathetic to the jury. One ex-user commented, "Nobody's falling for that after the massive amounts of baby oil," referring to the over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant allegedly seized from Diddy's residences. Another said, "People who do this in public for show are definitely not real Christians. The cynicism is real. And honestly, can you blame people? It's like when a celebrity gets caught doing something terrible and suddenly they are checking into rehab or donating to charity. We see through those tactics. Now we understand that they are not expressions of genuine remorse. They are calculated moves to salvage a public image that's been rightfully damaged by their own actions." But perhaps the most unsettling detail about how Diddy treats witnesses came from the testimony about the hotel incident. The security officer who responded to Cass's call for help testified that Diddy had a devilish stare on his face when he came out of the elevator. That's not the description of someone who's remorseful. That's not the face of someone who made a mistake. That's the look of someone who's angry that they got caught, angry that their control is being challenged. And then, according to the security officer, Diddy allegedly offered him money to keep quiet about what happened. The officer claimed he didn't take the money, but the mere offer speaks volumes about how Diddy handles situations where he might be exposed. He throws money at the problem. He tries to buy silence. He uses his wealth as a shield against accountability.
He says he went back upstairs to talk to Puff and explain to him the rules of the hotel and that he have to pay for some things. And Diddy had this like devilish stare on his face when he came out of the elevator at one point, and that Diddy allegedly offered him money. So the man is saying that Diddy offered him money because he didn't want any of this to come out, because for her and for him. But
Diddy's defense team, led by Brian, still tried to discredit this testimony by pointing out inconsistencies in the security officer's incident report. They questioned why he didn't include certain details in his original report, like Cassie having a purple eye or a man being inside their hotel room. They also highlighted that the officer took videos on his phone of the aftermath and sent them to his wife, suggesting he was fan out rather than genuinely concerned about what happened.
So Brian Steele was like, okay, well, you told us that when you do your incident reports, you got to report the W's, where, what, why, who, like all the details. Mm-hmm. So he goes into the incident report and he says to him, he says, the incident reports are important, right? Because when we're recounting these things, we're relying on your report. So everything in your report is valid because y'all depend on that. He's like, yeah.
It's a classic defense strategy attack. The credibility of the witnesses, make them seem unreliable, inconsistent, or biased. But here's the thing, even if the security officer didn't include every detail in his report, even if he was excited to tell people he'd encountered a celebrity, the video speaks for itself. We've all seen the footage of Diddy assaulting Cassie. No amount of legal maneuvering can erase the evidence. A control freak and his victim. Now let's talk about the star of this horrific show, Cassie Ventura. This woman who is now pregnant and about to have a baby in June has been through absolute hell. According to her testimony when she took the stand on May 13th, it was reportedly the first time she'd seen Diddy since 2018.
You know, attorneys say that this is the first time that they've met since 2018 when she attended the funeral for Kim Porter, which is the mother of Sean Combs' 3 children.
Can you imagine having to face your abuser in court while being pregnant? The strength this woman has shown is absolutely incredible. I'm sitting here thinking, if that was me, I would be shaking in my boots. But Cassie walked in with her head held high, looking like the queen she is.
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs.
Talk about how Diddy treats witnesses. We have to start with the most damning evidence, that horrific video showing him physically assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway back in 2016. Y'all, this isn't just a little argument. This is a man dragging a woman, throwing things at her, stomping on her. It's a kind of footage that makes you want to throw your phone across the room because it's so disturbing. You know what's wild? Diddy's defense team is trying to spin this video like it was just some regular argument between a couple. They're really out here saying this wasn't about forcing her to stay for one of those special parties, but instead was an argument about Diddy having another woman's number in his phone. Like that somehow makes it better. Child, please.
Said that Diddy offered him a ton of money, and to that, Brian
But
still...
it was a stack.
Yeah, he said he came out with a huge stack of money, and he didn't offer it.
Speaking of the video, let's talk about the security officer who was there that night. He testified that when Cassie called for help, he found her in distress, saying repeatedly, "I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave." And you know what Diddy allegedly said? No, she's not going anywhere. That's not a man in a relationship. That's a kidnapper. That's a controller. That's someone who thinks they own another human being. The security officer also said that Diddy offered him money to keep quiet. Now, why would an innocent man need to pay people off? I'll tell you why. Because he's not innocent. He's trying to cover up his tracks, trying to make sure his reputation doesn't get tarnished. But it's too late for that. Diddy, the world sees you now. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how Diddy allegedly controlled Cassie during their relationship. This is where it gets really disturbing. You're according to Cassie's testimony. Diddy controlled everything from what she wore to who she talked to, even the color of her nails. I'm talking about a man who wanted white or French tip nails on this woman at all times, like, sir, are you her boyfriend or her dictator?
The prosecution is asking her questions to show that she wasn't in control. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with.
Then there's the most disturbing part, the free course. Now I'm going to keep this as PG as possible because we've got young viewers, but essentially these were situations where Cassie was allegedly forced to engage in intimate activities with other people. While Diddy watched Cassie testify that these events could last up to 4 days, 4 days. Can you imagine being forced to do something you don't want to do for that long? And the aftermath was so severe that she needed 4 fluids afterward. Cassie also testified that she suffered frequent and painful health issues as a result of these free coughs. She had urinary tract infections so severe that antibiotics sometimes stopped working. She developed oral sores and stomach problems from the drugs and physical exertion involved. This isn't just abuse, it's torture. It's using another human being's body with complete disregard for their well-being. What's even more heartbreaking is when Cassie was asked if she ever enjoyed these situations, she broke down crying and said she only did because it meant she got to spend one-on-one time with Diddy. That's what psychological abuse looks like, folks. That's what happens when someone breaks you down so completely that you start to associate abuse with love.
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs and I really did love him.
Let me tell you something, that's not love. That's not what love looks like. Love doesn't hurt you. Love doesn't control you. Love doesn't make you feel dirty. After Cassie testified that after the first freak off, she felt dirty and didn't want to do it again. She even tried to bring it up in an email. But Diddy shut her down, and she ended up backpedaling because she was afraid.
And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak off, she said she felt dirty. she didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh, no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had.
Cassie was only 22 years old when they started You're 22 a Baby. Meanwhile, Diddy was a grown man, a powerful music mogul with all the connections and influence in the world. The power imbalance here is off the chart. She was young, trying to build her career in the music industry, and she had signed a 10-album deal with Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment. He held her entire future in his hands, and he knew it.
Yet she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that.
This case is really showing us the ugly side of the music industry, showing us how power can be used to manipulate control. And abuse, it's showing us that even the people we idolize, the people we think have it all, can be monsters behind closed doors. And the worst part, the jurors were shown photos of injuries that Cassie sustained during their relationship. According to the testimony, she had knots on her forehead, busted lips, black eyes, and bruises. This wasn't just a one-time thing. This was a pattern of abuse that spanned years of trial. And the truth, first things first, let's talk about Diddy's appearance in court. The man is really trying to rebrand himself for this trial, looking nothing like the flashy, blinged-out mogul we're used to seeing. Instead, he's showing up with gray hair, glasses, and wearing sweaters, basically trying to look as non-threatening as possible, one commentator noted.